Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Doppler'S Gear Garage. It's the beginning of February 2025. First of all, Brett, hello. Great to see you, my man. First on board. Shane, what's going on, my man? Thanks for dropping in. Great to see you as always. What's the latest and greatest? All right. Come on. There we go. Come into the... There we go. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you so much for stopping by. We're going to dig right in. There have been some things that I've been wanting to, in addition to cover kind of some of the highlights of NAMM, because I'm back from NAMM. I've really been wanting to connect some dots for the other players that are out there. I think one of the things that happens when I look at the guitars, I've said to a number of my students, when I see a particular thing, what I see is a little bit different than what some other folks see, and the ability to kind of share maybe what I see behind the scenes of these things may be helpful for you as you kind of look at the neck. First of all, Mike Rand, good morning to you. Hello, hello, hello. Always a pleasure. Chris Alexander, the V is back. It is better than ever. Nandini, hello, hello, hello. Recovered from NAMM. So that is an interesting thing. If you can listen, there's a very gentle croak in my throat, which would, since you asked, and as Nandini would know, I've spent the past 2 days in bed croaking and attempting to resuscitate myself, pushing my Thursday lessons to Friday, and then finally canceling my Friday's makeup lessons for Thursday. I'm mostly human. Thank you for asking. But in any case, Nandini, thank you for your patience as we were kind of moving lessons around. There we go. So first of all, let's just not waste any time. Let's do a little raise 'em up. What are you drinking? Where are you coming from? I am in the very last of my latte. And my Optavia shake there, a little bit of peats in the bottom there. What are you drinking and where are you coming to us from? All right, well, first and foremost, one of the things that's always important about this is it's an interesting thing doing what I do. There's a lot of you, and then there's a balance of some of you folks care about what I'm up to, but it's a give and take, right? Every conversation is we kind of drinking tea, love it. So the thing is this, life is a give and take. And one of the things I really want to share with y'all today is kind of, as I think about the major scale and I think about the modes, the ways that I think about employing them and utilizing them and what they're saying and what the shapes reveal is something that's very near and dear to my heart. More importantly, sharing that so other players can take advantage of that is important. And per the graphic you just saw a moment ago, and I'm going to bring back up here, hang on a second. I keep seeing the stream. All right, there we go. Hey, hang on a second. So imagine that Chris Alexander is drinking sweet tea. There we go. Shane, coffee brewing in Tacoma. No surprise there. Griffin, good morning to you, my friend. More snow last week than we had since 1895. Holy cow. Awesome. Great to see you. Thank you very much. I am mostly human. But thank you, appreciate it. So here's the deal. As we look at these fingerings, one of the things that happens is to my, gosh, I always get this wrong, to my right, which is to your left, or it's just the finger for the major scale here, right? And so if we just kind of play that in 2 octaves there, kind of reveals the pattern on the major scale. If you were to then kind of just look at the pattern that is to my the one in red, you can see that's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 7 6 5 4 3 2 1 7 6 5 4 3 2 1, and really kind of hang on a second, I've got a couple more people to say hello to. Awesome. Dan, what's going on? Japanese Sencha as I watch. Awesome. Welcome aboard. Great to see you. Love that photo. Awesome. Jason Smith, what's going on? Doing great. Hey, that looks like Steve Vai you're jamming with, by the way. All right. Good. Adam, always a pleasure. Nice photo, by the way. Melissa Doppler. Well, we know that's a nice photo. Griffin, the coffee is awesome. So what happens is sometimes on Saturday mornings oh, wait a second. Chris Colombo. Wait a second. Well, that's not Chris Colombo, but that's Eric. Good morning, Eric. Hello, hello. Shred lesson is in session. All right. There we go. And then we got the Kung Fu Panda coming up. There we go. Coffee and Gig Harbor, Washington. Love from the PACNW, Pacific Northwest. Michael Costello, what's going on, my man? Great to see you. Oh, Coelho. How the heck do I pronounce that? Give me some phonetics on that, please. Because I seem to be... Coelho. Coelho. That might be close. Or really lame. My apologies. Okay. Awesome. Good. It's a Paul. Come on. All right. Let's see. Okay. Good. All right. Hey, Ron, what's happening, my man? Great to see you. Steve, hello. There we go. Coelho. Muy bien. Excellent. Well, good morning to you, sir. Steve, hello. Okay, so let me get right down to business here. So here's the thing, is that the great thing about being able to look at this scale as either note names and or scale degree numbers, or getting flexible at doing both, is that it gives you the ability to see insightfully into this. So as you look at, on my left, gosh darn it, you've got the scale degree numbers, and that is to say that's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And then as you look at the note names, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, the value of seeing them as the numbers is if I go down to the key of B flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, where those notes are going to be B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, and B flat. And so you get to these wacky keys if you don't have a kind of an approach for dealing with, first of all, just being able to see in the key of C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and just getting comfortable to this alphanumeric relationship. That is to say, if I play two notes that are either a half step or a whole step apart, no matter which direction you're going, they're always going to be adjacent numbers and note names. And this is kind of what messes some people up. For example, let me get rid of these for a quick second. Sharps and flats are a way of being able to create an order to this. Let's say, for example, you got two cars. You're driving along, the lanes merge. Ideally, the car that's a little bit in front merges in if the two lanes kind of have to come together, right? So there's an order, a logic to that. And so as we're kind of cruising along, playing the major scale, one of the places that people get into trouble is they're kind of cruising up the neck and they can go, all right, well, if this is E, the next note is either a half step or whole step away. That's going to be some sort of F, some sort of G, some sort of A, some sort of B, some sort of C, some sort of D, some sort of E. The place that I see people get into the most trouble with note names is they're at E, they're going, quote unquote, downhill from E. They think, oh, that must be E flat. And again, without a system of logic, hey, we're kind of cruising along here, as we either move a half step or a whole step, we're always going to take the next adjacent scale degree number and note name. It's kind of a one-to-one thing, which is what this right here allows us to see right there. There we go. And so as we play the C major scale right here, allows us to see that that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, which is a relative thing. That is, again, if we take it down to B flat, it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And the value of that is as follows if we were to kind of outwork that. Now, I will jump around a little bit, but for the sake of demonstration. So one of my favorite, although it's not the greatest sounding chord progression in the world, if I took the triads for the key of G major, and this, by the way, can apply to any chord progression you want to play. So again, it's a strategy for dealing with music, right? So we took the 3, 6, 2, 5, as in based on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 6, 2, 5, 3, 6, 2, 5, and we place those chords there. That gives us a way of kind of looking at a group of chords and placing them in the framework of the major scale. And the deal is, as you play these triads based on the 7 tones of the major scale, there's a very specific order. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. There's only one spot where you got 2 minor chords a whole step apart. That's the 2 and the 3. Only one spot where you got a minor chord with a major chord a half step above it. That's the 3 and the 4. One spot where you got 2 major chords a whole step apart. That's the 4 and the 5. Now, why does that relate to you? Well, let's say, for example, you got... Uh, uh, there we go. So you got all of a sudden that little giveaway right there, which is in like 5 million songs. You see those two major chords a whole step apart. Immediately, that's 4 and 5. And all of a sudden, that is your tonal center. If that's 4 and 5, that makes this guy 6. So the ability to place that numerically is important. So no matter what key you're in, that's the 6. So that numeric relationship gives us a great way to be able to chase more or less any of these ideas up and down the neck from key to key. Why does that matter? Well, let's say, for example, you're working with a vocalist and you need to transpose the key. The numbers are a really great way to be able to just kind of see the relationship of what's going on, such if you end up in some wacky key like B flat, it's not going to totally derail you. Conversely, getting comfortable with being able to go, all right, if that's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. Getting comfortable with just walking through the major scale in any one of these keys up and down the neck will get you pliable in that way. And that is a very helpful thing to do. So getting back to this little bit of C major here, there's a concept where with the modes, hang on, let me make sure I can see chat here. And by the way, questions are welcome. Good morning, Albert. Great to see you. Anil, hello, hello. Come on, jump in there. Come on. I'm clicking, and you are not going into the chat. Well, just take my word for it. There we go. Come on. Albert, great to see you. Hello. Anil, good morning. Mark, hello, my friend. Jimmy Arsenault. Okay, hang on a second. Bill, Alien, go, bring the thunder. You guys are the bestest. All right. Sonny, what's happening, my friend? Off to work. I look forward to it, my friend. All right. Now, as it relates to what we're doing here, this little bit of business is as follows. I will circle back a little bit later, and I will put fingerings for all the 7 different modes in the chat. Let me get here. There we go. And what that's going to enable us to do is as follows, because I don't want to go through all 7 modes to any great length, but I'm going to tap into the concept of what we're going over here. So the deal is, if I were to take the scale degree numbers for each of the 7 modes, I may end up going through all 7. It's just going to go major 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. I'm just going to take the first octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to call it the mode name when I play the first note on the way up, as in major 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then if I take the Dorian mode, now, if I were to take that major scale, as in C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and instead of going C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, I go D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. That is the D Dorian mode. And if I took that fingering and slid it down to C, instead of going D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, it's going to go C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, C. So the deal is, we are continuously kind of coming back to the C major scale for 2 main reasons. One is if you look at the formula, that is the perfect formula for comparing things. So that is to say, if we go the C major scale and we have a note that goes like that, instead of going 1, 2, 3, that's 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6. Instead of playing the 7th note, it's playing that note a half step lower. That's a flat 7, which is why this Dorian mode that we played up here at D, when we slid it down to C, instead of going, hang on, let me bring this back up for C major here real quick. Okay, we're looking at the numbers there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Well, Dorian 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. And that concept allows us to kind of compare the fingering and just milk information out of the fingering simply by comparing it to the major scale. And that is a really valuable tool to kind of enable us to tap into all this stuff. So I'm going to share the diagrams for this in the chat on both Facebook and YouTube. So the deal is, if we kind of go, I'm just going to play the first octave, major 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Dorian 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1, 1, flat 7, 6, 5, 4, flat 3, 2, 1, Phrygian, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. I'm going to slow it down actually. Phrygian, flat 2, flat 3. And if you listen where we went major, and then Phrygian, you can hear the second note's lower by a half step, and the third note's lower by a half step. So that's Phrygian, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1, 1, flat 7, flat 6, 5, 4, flat 3, flat 2, 1. It's good to get used to going backwards down the scale. That's one of the things as you practice your scales, for example. Most of us usually practice our scales from bottom to top. I would encourage you to do anything that you practice from bottom to top to bottom, to practice from the top down. Because I promise you it will seem very upside down if you're not used to doing that. Back to our previous program. Lydian 2, 3. Now here's the thing, is we were at the third note, which means the next note, instead of being a natural 4, that's a sharp 4. Lydian 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 7, 6, 5, sharp 4, 3, 2, 1. Mixed Lydian 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, the major scale is there. That's a flat 7. Mixed Lydian 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. 1, flat 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Minor 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. 1, flat 7, flat 6, 5, 4, flat 3, 2, 1. Low Korean, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. 1, flat 7, flat 6, flat 5, 4, flat 3, flat 2, 1. So that gives you a way of being able to look at these scales. So let's say, for example, we're playing C Phrygian. So if it has a flat 2, 3, 6, and 7, and the notes of the C major scale are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, the second note, the D becomes a D flat. The third note, the E, becomes an E flat. The sixth note, the A becomes an A flat, and the seventh note, the B, becomes a B flat. So what's great about the key of C is as we switch from major to minor, Phrygian in this case, the scale degree numbers and the note names kind of do this one-to-one shifts, where this is major 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. For Phrygian, it's Phrygian flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1, and that's going to be Phrygian D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. So what's great is it gets you really comfortable of being able to see this one-to-one relationship for whatever scale degree numbers you change. And again, we're just looking at the finger and go, there it is. If it's different, lower or higher, flat or sharp, whatever number you're at. And again, it always has this alphanumeric relationship. If you go up or down a half step or a whole step, it's going to take the next adjacent note name and or number. So it makes it very easy to translate as you're going from numbers to note names, numbers to note names. Numbers, note names to numbers. So the deal is, where that's to help, if we were to take a look at this Phrygian scale, and we were to just boil it down to its first, third, and fifth notes, you can see that's a 1, flat 3, 5, 1, flat 3, 5, 1, 5, flat 3, 1, 5, flat 3, 1. You can just play a bar chord, you can play a triad chord, you can play a spread triad. So this is, when I look inside this shape here, I see this. And I can, out of that, I can go, hey, I can take these notes right here and put them together. I can take these notes right here. I can put them together. I can take this note, and that note and put them together. So I can look at it in a number of different ways, and I see building blocks. And that's not how most people see scales. So the ability to do that allows you to kind of go, hey, that's what I would refer to as the tonic chord, which is as you're kind of done, wheelie, 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 wheelie. So those are the notes you're going to end your phrases on. So that was the 1, flat 3, and 5. So one of the things you could do is just kind of hang out. And focus on resolving on that. Now here's where the value of being able to translate from numbers, as in 1, flat 3, 5, 1, flat 3, 5, 1, and turn it into C, E flat G, C, E flat G, C, E flat G, is you can then kind of be moving around the neck. looking for that G. And I'm looking for the C. B flat, A flat, G, F, E flat, D flat, C. And now all of a sudden you got a road map. And this is where most guitar players get into trouble. Myself included, we have a tendency to connect shapes up and down or across the neck. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we move past the shapes that we're comfortable with playing, we end up in this kind of no person's land, if you will. And that's where the ability to kind of go, okay, I'm going to go back to the key of C for a quick second. You right here. Let's take this one. No, I want that one. So as you kind of go, all right, there's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, which you can think of as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So if I can then begin to, instead of just playing the fingering, take that information, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and just be able to go, okay, that's a continuing pattern that I can start at any one of those notes, as in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I don't have to start on the C note, but it enables me to jump in on a, that's an E right there. Oh, I played an F sharp, my bad. And that I would loosely refer to as a motif. So I was kind of taking this groupings, and this is where one of the things that we'll be talking about in future weeks a lot more is sequences. Not today so much. But what I did was I basically took kind of, I could call it 2 and 2. E and F and A and B. And then kind of what I did, and I did a slide on the top note. Oh, sorry. Played an F sharp there. So the deal is that I'm basically, I can think about this as kind of building railroad tracks. There's E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Again, that's why this is such a great starting place. And there's, as long as I don't play the F sharp, there's E, F, A, B. And I slide up to the C. F, G, B, C, slide up to the D. G, A, C, D, slide up to the E. A, B, and so on and so forth. So we're just kind of riding this little kind of railroad track of notes. And the advantage of working in the key of C is if you don't play that F sharp there, you develop a kind of a pathway that you can jump onto. The analogy that comes to mind is like if you live in a mountainous area, you'll see little deer trails. It's a nice little way to kind of be able to kind of carve a little deer path. The other thing you can begin to do, you can also then do it in groupings of 6 notes. And start plugging those guys in. So that is basically still going E, F, G, A, B, C. My brain and my fingers are not totally 100% in sync, but I'm working on it here. So that's basically E, F, G, A, B, C. Now we're doing 3 and 3, where before we kind of did 2 and 2 in a slide. We're going to now go. Now, what we're then doing is we're taking the same concept, but the neat thing is once you get really comfortable, and by the way, we're starting in C, so you don't have to deal with any sharps or flats, but conceptually, the same thing holds true for any other key, because once you get used to being able to, all right, I'm going C, D, E, F, G, A, E, F, G, A, B, C, thank you, F, G, A, B, C, D, G, A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E, F, B, C, D, E, F, G, C, D, E, F, G, A, D, E, F, G, A, B, and back to E, F, G, A, B, C. That's easy for you to say. We're just plugging in the same notes, and you begin to learn to see these shapes. And you can begin to connect them just by going linearly up. You can go up 1. Down the next one, you can go up in thirds. You can begin to mix them together in any grouping of ways. The other thing you can begin to do is inside there, a minute ago we talked about the key of C, starting looking for your C's, E's, and G's. So let's say we're going to be kind of cruising along right here. We're going to start, actually I'm going to take it right here. That guy right there, and if that's C, that's D, that's E, that's F, that's G, and that's A, and right inside there's a C, E, and G. So as we're kind of and you're learning to find the notes that are the best resolution for what I call the tonic chord there. All right, let me just jump into the chat here and see if I've got any questions here real quick. Speedwagoner, what's going on, my man? David Forsey, what's happening, my man? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Come on. Andrew Bonica, hello, hello, hello. Awesome. What's happening, Ace? Hello, hello. Great to see you as well. Look at that. There we go. Love that photo. Come on. All right. Good, good, good. Jamie Lamb, what's happening, my friend? I warm up and see with a happy melody. There we go. So, Michael, hello. Welcome to the broadcast, my man. Hello, hello. If we haven't met before, well, hello again. Or hello. Yes. Hello. Gosh darn it. All right, let me get rid of this overlay here real quick. All right, let's take a quick moment and good, good, good. All right, first of all, questions, comments, feedback, thought. Anybody, anything. Not everybody at once. Okay, Nitin, what's going on, my man? Any gear highlights from NAMM? Okay. As I do have some gear highlights from NAMM. Dan, good morning. I am getting slowly caught up on email, and I owe you an email reply. Looking forward to connecting on the lesson front, and I like modes too. So Michael Rand. So NAMM, yeah, ma'am. I think I had an idea what you were talking about. So yeah, NAMM was really. And first of all, are there any closing questions on this little bit on kind of working with the major scale here, so on and so forth? Gosh darn it! Look at all the people who are watching this. Holy cow! All right, Mike, I'm going to answer your NAMM question in just a moment. Let me put a bow on all of this, and let me do one thing here real quick. I need to find the second finger root modes, and I need to post that link in there so anybody who's watching that wants to grab that right now can do that. So give me just a moment. Modes. Not intro to Pro Tools. This will take about a hot second. All right. So in the meantime, what I can suggest y'all doing is taking the major scale there and getting comfortable with sitting at one spot on the neck and literally just kind of, in this particular case, these are the second finger root modes, and just starting with the second finger and just getting comfortable with going C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. So you really get comfortable with thinking about it like that. Because again, as you end up in some wacky key like B flat, what starts to happen and why knowing the note names becomes valuable is all of a sudden the dots and the spaces end up in really wacky places. The numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 are relative. That is to say, you can move them up and down the neck freely. That's one of the great things about looking at things in terms of the numbers. However, when you end up in some wacky key like B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, everything's kind of in the wrong place. So the ability to kind of see into that key and be able to go, all right, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, means you begin to have some freedom in a key that honestly guitar players will do just about anything not to play in. But we sometimes just find ourselves in those wacky keys. So the ability to navigate that and to translate numbers into note names into numbers is really valuable. All right, let me get to second finger root modes. Second finger root. My apology for the delay. I should have had this for you before, but give me just a moment. Modes. .pdf. .jpg. All right, while I'm searching for this little thing, does anybody have any questions about this kind of modal business? Everyone order your Doppler. Yeah, there we go. All right, everybody wants to know. Oh, you're the best. All right, so you know what? While I'm looking for this, Steve Carell, what's going on? Pleasure, my friend. All right, while I'm looking for this diagram, I can certainly talk about NAMP. So so there are a number of things that are happening. Couldn't be a more exciting time to talk about gear, especially at Doppler's Gear Garage. So, where to start? There are. See, can I go in chronological order? So, IK Multimedia just launched their range of FR cabinets. Eric Martin Bureau, what's going on, my man? And so now there is a Tonex ecosystem that has the main Tonex pedal, the Tonex One, as well as these FR cabinets. Brenton, what's going on, my man? You are up early. There we go. Come on. Excellent. Oh, you're up late. I see. Excellent, excellent. Brenton, by the way, is joining us from Australia. So the good folks at Tonex, I got to know them through my buddy Brian Wall at Warship Tutorials, and they had this giant launch party at NAMM. There you go, Satch Tonex One. So the thing about the Tonex ecosystem is that it is incredibly affordable. It's really well made, and they have a ton of existing tones, and it's. I can get. I'm going to let the Chris, you are the bestest. There is a very high probability that in June or so of this year, my buddy Brian Wall and Bradford, his cohort, are going to come out here, and we're going to capture a bazillion of the amplifiers that are going to be here, and we're basically going to quote-unquote create the Doug Doppler collection of tones. So basically, I'll be dialing in the tones, and Brian and Bradford are going to be using their various skills in the capture process, and we're going to capture it across the range of these different platforms that are out there. So it's going to be on Tonex, and that will include the Jose modded Marshall. It will include the Boogie stuff that is not currently available. That is to say, there's a bunch of vintage Boogie amps that are here. I will not be capturing any of the stuff that's currently available because I do not want to compete in the marketplace with the existing Boogie gear unless I get a specific green light from my friends at Boogie, which is of this moment. That question has not been asked, hence not answered. But what it's going to do is kind of create a collection. I basically have my trio of Randall amplifiers and kind of the whole dime bag rig. So we're going to kind of get a chance to really kind of document a bunch of this stuff, and then people are going to be able to have at it. But what's neat about this Tonex ecosystem, in theory, they're going to send me, and I actually don't have Tonex One, and I don't have the main Tonex pedal, and I do not have the requested pair of Tonex FR cabinets. They're nice and light, they're small, they're easy to move. Those will probably be on their way to me in February, and I'll hopefully have a chance to demonstrate them for you so you can hear them. By that ecosystem, hang on just a second. Okay, okay, noted. So, yes, that's right. So I'm getting there. Thank you. What's going on, Bruce? Hello, hello, hello. So we're going to do a range of things. So the short version is in Capture World. There are two essential ways that you can capture things. One is you can capture the heads and the cabinets separately. But in spending time, and the crazy thing about the Tonex, basically their FR cabinet, which I should know the name of, but I've forgotten, their launch is that they've created this ecosystem, and what's neat about that, and Line 6 has an ecosystem. The thing that I'm waiting for from my friend for Line 6 is they do not have a capture functionality, and that is where if you've got your existing amplifiers and you're just needing some sort of FR solution that's your exact amps, the Tonex folks have done that at a price point that is really fabulous, and the sounds are phenomenal. So the deal is that those cabinets now within that ecosystem give you a range of things that you can do, and there's a bunch of cool functions. So those should be on their way to me February, March at the latest. We'll get a chance to walk through them. But the ability to be within one ecosystem is actually kind of one of the things that's very valuable, because one of the problems that people have consistently is like, all right, I've got my modeler. Now how do I make it loud for rehearsal where maybe you don't have a good PA to play through? or, you can monitor yourself on stage if you're not using in-ear monitors. There's a range of challenges that people run into across a range of things. And so the funny thing is that Bruce, first of all, good morning. Great to see you. So on the way down there, the I-5 was closed at the Grapevine because of a fire that was up in there. So I was supposed to play on the Wednesday night of NAMM at the pre-NAMM hang that Worship Musician does, but I couldn't do that. I was also supposed to play at Ronnie Lee's jam after that, neither of which happened. And then on the way back, the I-5 got closed with snow. So fire and snow weren't going to keep me from getting to the NAMM show or getting back. In any case, the Tonex thing, they had this party. Like, the number of content creators there was nuts. I mean, it was a really, really well done event. And I think there's some very exciting things that are going to happen from people, again, being able to have their capture device and an ecosystem to play it back that's tailored for that capture device. That's a big deal. Yes, I'm really excited to check that out because, again, the fact that they're part of the same ecosystem is a big deal to me. Okay, would getting a reactive load box for a 5-watt DSL5 be a good investment? Think about the Captor X or the new Boss Waza Core. So the advantage of that for pretty much any musician is that if you kind of say, okay, I've got this amp now, the chances are your DSL5, hang on a second, Sweetwater. If I look at the back of a DSL5, and by the way, one of the resources that I continuously turn to, let's see if I can do this without breaking something. Let's go here. And first of all, thank you everybody for tuning in. It's always a privilege to actually have y'all here hanging out with me. So the Sweetwater website, I'm going to accept the cookies, is one of the places that I turn to frequently. So what I'm going to look at is the back of the amplifier. And I can tell there that I've got a foot switch, I've got an effects loop, and an emulated out. So what I do not see, there it is. So right there, and I don't know if, there you go, you can probably see it. There we go. You're seeing a mouse over there. That red jack there is where you have the ability to have the emulated out. Come on, let's get back over here. Hello. Let's get back here, home. Let's get out of there. There we go. I want you. There we go. The red jack there is the speaker out. And so that is where you would take your reactive load box and place it. And what it means is, although the Marshalls actually have a pretty good emulated out, this means you can actually run a range of cabinets on that amplifier and any other amplifier that you might use to replace it, with one key exception, which I will say 51% of the people in the room know about. Generally speaking, those reactive load boxes come at a pre-designated impedance. So that on the output jack of that guy, first of all, if you take a look, let me get back there real quick. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. That little red jack right there, as I zoom in there, you should be able to see it on the side there, I think, as I'm mousing over. It says 1 times 16 ohm. So it's really important that you match that output impedance, because it's not good for the amplifier to mismatch impedances. So the deal is generally speaking, I've got, well, hang on a second. Just one moment. Let's grab a couple boxes. Doppler's Gear Garage it is. Come on. All right. So for those of us that live in Boogie World, I love this box, but we're going to talk about it in just a moment. That, by the way, is Cab Clone IR. This is Captor X, and this is the 2-notes device, and these are great. And as I mentioned a moment ago, they come at a pre-designated impedance, so it will say, where does it say on this device how many ohms it is? Right there, in the small writing. 16 ohms. So as you go to buy one of these, I have the 4, 8, and 16 ohm versions of these. It's really, really, really important to, when you're running the amplifier, to match the proper impedance of that. So generally speaking, let's just say for you, Nitin, you're living in the Marshall universe. Just about all the Marshall amps in this room optimally run at 16 ohms. So basically, if you're going to live in Marshall land, 16 ohm version. Boogie amps live at 8 ohms ideally, so these guys are available in a range of different impedances, but the two that I own, there's one hidden over there, they're all running at 8 ohms. Now, the thing about that differentiates these two different boxes, these are both two of my favorites, and I recently saw somebody asking about the aux box. So, well, I'm just going to speak the truth. I ran into Glenn Fricker at the IK booth. By the way, those of you who probably know, Glenn's wife had a stroke. She apparently is doing much, much better, and I asked him about it when I saw him, and he just heard really great news from her in Canada. So she sounds like she's going to be 100% on the mend, which is awesome. But, you know, he and I also spent some time talking about reactive load boxes. So the thing that about the aux, which is, I love Universal Audio's gear, but the version that I've got, and I don't believe they've updated it, but I have to check this, so I don't know for sure. But the version I've got runs on 2.4 gigahertz. So basically, that is to say it's got a Wi-Fi connectivity to be able to update and do handheld via your wireless device connectivity and control of that. So since just about everybody is on, I believe, 4.7 gigahertz, it basically means you can't connect to the box, which is infuriating. And to the best of my knowledge, there's no way to push an update to it, especially since you can't get to it because it's at the other gigahertz connection. So you want to make sure that whatever system you're going to be able to use, there's a lifeline and a pipeline for getting to it. In terms of the two notes, one of the great value propositions of these boxes that I love is they have an application called Wall of Sound. And of a number of different things you can do with Wall of Sound, you can choose your microphones and you can move the microphones around. So there's a degree of flexibility inside the Two Notes ecosystem that's phenomenal. And they're just great. They're really nice guys. They're super smart. They basically were, for all intents and purposes, they didn't necessarily start it, but they were there at the very beginning. This particular box, what I love about it is that it is Mesa's proprietary device. There is some technology inside here from the good folks at Two Notes, but it loads Mesa's proprietary IRs, and there are Mesa Boogie IRs that are in there. But the thing that I love about these boxes, and this is essentially the same thing that's loaded in the back of this amp and loaded in the back of those amps. Boy, I see lots of stuff lighting up over here. Looking to read those, so give me just oh boy, look at that count. Good morning, welcome, thank you. So the deal is, why I love Cab Clone IR is that I'm a Mesa Boogie cabinet, I don't know, I'm a fanboy, right? So the deal is, those cabinets have a particular sound, a thing that impresses me over and over, whether it's a standalone box, which is great for amps like these guys, as well as my Rev G, which every so often I mistakenly call a Rev F, is that, first of all, Mesa Boogies inherently want to run at 8 ohms. You can run them at different impedances, but that's the sweet spot where they want to run at. This is an 8 ohm box. Those are available, an 8 ohm, 4 ohm, and 16 ohm for different types of amplifiers, if you will. But the deal is those have the sound of the Boogie cabinets. They were supervised by the Boogie people. One of the guys who was an engineer for Third Eye Blind has a studio in the North Bay, and they meticulously, quote-unquote, shot those cabinets, and they're awesome. For me, as a Boogie player, and those the big oversized Recto cabinets, the rectifier, Recto 412 standard cabinets, as they're called, as opposed to traditional, which are the more square-like ones, they just have, como se dice, cojones, which translates to cojones. We'll leave it there. So the point being is that I'm just super impressed about that workflow. But the point being is that the ability to then run without a speaker cabinet, but you're putting a load on the amplifier, so the amplifier thinks it's seeing a speaker / cabinet. So there's a give and take that happens between the cabinet and the amplifier, and that is an important thing about a great reactive load box. So this whole reactive thing means it's not just a dummy load. So back in the day, there was a company called Palmer, and they made a load box that I used a bunch on the Guitar Hero stuff. In particular for Play With Me by Extreme and 17 by Winger. Those I was using an old Marshall TSL, and then in combination with the Palmer. But the Palmer sounded good, but basically those were not IRs. They actually came out before the IRs actually came out. So basically an IR is basically an impulse response, which is a capture of the sound of a speaker. So the sound of the speaker, depending on whose world you're stepping into, is not only the speaker and the microphone, there's potentially a whole signal chain of things making it more or less stage or studio-like. And all of that is awesome, because if you're wanting to be recording in the framework of a big mix where you're wanting things to sound a little bit more produced, that's where that whole signal chain can become very valuable. If you want the rawness so you can kind of craft it and do all that stuff, that's where what I love about the Boogie ones is that they sound raw but not rough. I absolutely love them. All right, let me jump in over here. Oh, Scott Gaylor, bring in the thunder. Hang on a second. All right, there we go. So that is a great question. So first of all, I have not tried the new Waza Core, but I will tell you, one of the things that I did is Bruce kindly pointed out, I hosted a series of tech track panels, and we tried something new this year to better serve the folks at NAMM and the brands that we have the privilege at Worship Musician working with, which is to highlight certain brands. Let's see if I can get it in chronological order. Fender/Gretsch, because they're part, in case you didn't know, FMIC, Fender Musical Instrument Corporation, includes Fender, Gretsch, EVH, Jackson, and they're doing a great job over there. For those of you that are Fender fanatics, they are doing some instruments out of Indonesia that are exceedingly affordable, brilliantly made, and the team they're just great. They're super, super nice. On the Friday night of NAMM, they kind of do this year their booth, and the Gibson booth was appointment only. I got a chance to go by both, and the Fender booth, I spent a good 2 hours there because I'm friends with a lot of the people there. And it was really neat to just get a chance to, hear from them what they're passionate about and talk about the NAMM panel that we did on the Saturday. Then we went into the second panel was Gibson, Epiphone, Mesa Boogie, and the collection of brands that are there, which was equally awesome. I'm obviously a Gibson and increasingly becoming an Epiphone fanboy. And per our conversation here, one of the things that's happening in the midst of all of this is where, this guitar is made in China. But there was a period of time where I wouldn't want to own a guitar that was made in China versus now, kind of like, as long as it's made well. And I love this guitar. This is actually the second one. I don't know where the other one is. It's floating around here. It's flying around here. They've gotten the manufacturing so well together that I got the first one. It had a repaired headstock and a case. And so I bought the first one, and I have a tendency to like to get pairs of guitars, hot swappable backup. So if you're using one on stage and you break a string or something, you can grab an identical guitar. So I bought a second one. This guitar is one of the coolest looking instruments I've ever had, and it plays and sounds great. All that to say, the Gibson panel allowed us to just kind of talk about that stuff. And then after that, we jumped into, I think the next one was Line 6. So Eric Klein, the chief architect for all things Helix, joined us, and we, I'm a huge fan of Helix, and so on and so forth. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit trail here, other than to say, that was awesome. Then we also had a guy named Max Taylor Grant from Neural DSP, and we got a chance to jump down that rabbit trail. And there is we had Aaron from Boss. And so the thing about Boss that continues to impress me is that, they've done millions of pedals at this point, but the Waza stuff in particular is phenomenal. I've got the Waza tube amp expander, another great reactive load box that also has effects built into it. And that's a great platform. I absolutely love that as well. A little bit harder to grab and pull out of there, but you know what? Let me go ahead and do that. Hopefully without breaking anything. Let's see how we can do here. And so this, we go, is Waza Tube Amp Expander. And what's great about it is there's a ton of functionality that's on here. The other thing that's really cool about this is, unlike the other units, there is a impedance selector that is... Where are you? The unfortunate thing about getting older is your eyes are not quite as sharp as they once were. Where are you, impedance selector? Somebody out there is going, Doug, you should know this. All right. Well, you know what? For the sake of conversation, there's an impedance selector on the back. And so what's neat about this is that you can create separate rigs. And this is kind of, each one of these units has its own kind of little dealio that it brings. And the thing about these guys is that you can load. The thing about the captor universe is that they use their you can use your own IRs, but they also have their own proprietary IRs as well that allow you to kind of move microphones around and whatnot. But most of the other ecosystems, you just kind of load, if you will, a static IR. And this box just gives you the ability to create separate rigs, incorporating effects and whatnot. And it is a tremendously powerful, again, you'll hear me use the words ecosystem or the phrase ecosystem over and over. And I'm very fond of being able to have kind of a if you will, a round trip within a brand's framework, so you can kind of leverage the magic of their ability to kind of put all those pieces together. All right. What's a great split? Hold on. Wait. I missed something. There we go. This is probably way off topic, but tell us about phone Axis sitting next to my bed. I've been considering one to just have a Floyd Rose guitar. First of all, mine is about 4 or 5 years old. The thing that I don't like about that guitar, and I'm 90% positive they've changed on the new one, is it's got a satin finish on the neck. I pretty much loathe the satin finish. It's a really good guitar. All the new Epiphones that are showing up are phenomenal guitars, like shockingly phenomenal. So there's a guitar that's upstairs that I started to bring down today. That ironically, it's the Marty Schwartz 335. Halfway tempted to go upstairs and get it. It's a phenomenal guitar. It's like $699. This is a total, and I think it's like 7-ish with the case. There's also an Epiphone Les Paul that showed up that's phenomenal. There's an Epiphone J200, and then a Kramer SM1 that's kind of intended to replace kind of my shreddy Ibanez's, which are really cool. So I am kind of patiently waiting to reel in one of the new Axis guitars. The one that I've got is really good. It's not phenomenal. The new Epiphones that are showing up are phenomenal instruments, especially for the money. I am so impressed. Steve, what's going on? The cab name, thank you. IK Multimedia cab, Tonex cab, 700 watts, 112 power guitar cabinet. Thank you, Steve. Somebody here should know that. And so this is the other thing about these ecosystems is people run them in different ways, right? And so you don't have to use an amp capture. So Eric, to your point, for those of you that aren't familiar with kind of the modeling and the capturing universe, just if you were to separate it into core components, just like you would have in the real world, you've got an amplifier, you got a cabinet. So you do a capture of the amplifier, you shoot an IR of the cabinet. Now you can capture all those guys in one fell swoop so they get baked together. The disadvantage of that process is, say for example, I just want to run this amplifier, the capture thereof, into a power amp, into a traditional guitar cabinet. You generally, although they actually sound surprisingly good, you generally don't want to run an IR into a traditional guitar cabinet. Because you're basically, it's kind of like running a distortion pedal into another distortion pedal. You don't need to do it. It's taking the same, if you will, sonic footprint and pushing it in there. It's like you wouldn't run one guitar into another guitar. It's kind of a strange redundance. But the interesting thing about running IRs into traditional cabinets is, you're not supposed to do it, but sometimes it sounds really good. So there's that. However, the idea is you've got your amplifier and your cabinet, and you can capture them together. And the advantage of doing that, if you know you're going to be outputting it to a full range flat response, FR/FR, that's what that stands for, acronym, is that it allows you to kind of have all the magic baked in. And the way the cabinet, per this whole reactive load boxing, the way the cabinet influences the amplifier is different. That is to say, if I plug in this head into that cabinet or into that cabinet, not only is it going to sound different because of the way that it's interacting with that, the way that that cabinet behaves in response to different frequencies is going to send information back through the speaker cable in terms of the impedance of that relationship. I probably didn't describe that in the best technical terms, but what I can say is this, is the cabinet and the amplifier are listening to each other. So if you change out cabinets, it's going to change the way the amp is going to respond. So the deal is that if you choose to bake the cabinet into the equation and play it through an FR rig, awesome. But if you choose not to bake it in there, and then you want to run, and then you just capture the amp capture on its own, then you have the ability to use any of your traditional cabinets. Where that's an advantage is, if you love your big, nasty, mean cabinets and don't mind toting them around, it's awesome. The Tonex, hold on a second here. Where are you? Thank you very much. Come on, there we go. The Tonex cab, the advantage is it's actually small. It's a little bit smaller than the Line 6 power cabs, which I love, by the way. So it's about this big. I'd say 24 inches, if you will, by about 18, and it's light. So that's one of the other trends that you're going to see more and more is the inclusion of neodymium speakers, where they're just not quite so heavy to lug around. And I think that's going to be increasingly something that manufacturers are going to be paying attention to, because in my opinion, and again, it's an opinion, what's going to start happening is people are going to look at traditional amplifiers and look at the ability to manipulate different things. Like this guy has got cab clone IR built into it. So, and the ability to manipulate things both going into a cabinet and going direct, or doing both at the same time. The sorts of things that people have in terms of convenience from their modelers are going to be the sorts of things that people are going to want with the convenience of their amplifiers. So I think you're going to see more and more amplifiers having these richer, deeper features. And historically speaking, the PT15, the Pete Thorne 15, was, I believe, the second amplifier. The Rev D20, I believe, was the first amplifier to have built-in IR compatibility. And the D20 basically in its ecosystem was the wall of sound, so you could load IRs and push them. It came, I believe, with 8, maybe 4 that came. You could dial in on the amplifier itself, but then you could also create your own IRs and push them to inside the wall of sound system and push them to the D20. And so this technology is probably 10 years. Approximately 10 years in now, and the ability to have an amplifier that's, if you will, quote unquote, a smart amplifier. The next thing I think you're going to see, and there is a diesel amplifier that's got it. I think it's the next piece, is you're going to see amps with, this doesn't have it, obviously, and I don't have any amps here that have digital componentry in them, other than cab clone IR, but you're going to see amplifiers that have digital effects in there. I think that's going to be the next big trend. And so what you're going to get is amplifiers that have the convenience of what people love about modeling devices, but you're going to see traditional amplifiers that leverage those types of ways to augment your sound. That, modeling devices, you've got scenes and things you can do. I think you're going to see that spreading increasingly into amplifiers, because I think the amplifier market is going to see how it needs to kind of share the marketplace/market space with the digital devices out there, and kind of begin to go, well, how do we push back on that, right? So I do not know of any other amps other than those that are on the market that are in development on that, but my guess is that this is something that you're going to see more and more, because, again, there's nothing quite like playing through a real tube amp in real time. I love all the modeling devices that are out there. I think they're great. But at the same time, when you can play through a real tube amp and kind of get that interaction, there's nothing quite like that. There you go. Come on. Paul, good morning to you. Great to see you. There's a bit of this conversation I missed. Eric, good morning. I have 3 of those for sale. Eric Horn guitars. Awesome. There you go. Thank you, Bruce. Noted and appreciated. So that's a great question. So this is going to be very interesting because I'm going to have to be very careful around how I'm going to answer this. It's a great question, first of all. It is not a great time in the United States to be importing things from China. So I would say that if I were a Marshall fanatic and I liked anything that's in their current product line, probably a good time to buy it now because I think they're going to be hit with tariffs in a serious way. Now, that said, what I don't know, and somebody out there might know, is that what happens if there's a Chinese-owned amplifier company, but they manufacture their amplifiers in Vietnam, and they import them from Vietnam into the United States. Different conversation. The other thing is that if the folks who bought Marshall are as crafty as they could be, maybe they set up some sort of subsidiary in Vietnam, and they kind of find some way, to deal with that. That is to say, there's nuance around that I don't want to wade into because of the political implications. But the protectionism for American jobs, I think, I will say we've done a really good job. As close as I'm going to come to this is as follows. I think competitiveness in the marketplace is important. But I also think not undermining American jobs is also important. Finding some way of finding a balance that's good for the U.S. economy and at the same time doesn't deprive us of the goods that we need. I think there's a balance there. And that's as far as I'm going to go down that rabbit trail. That can be toxic, and we need not go there. What is my favorite reverb to pair with a cab clone? So that is a great question. So you cannot go wrong. Hang on a second. Let me grab you off the pedal board here. There we go. The golden is on the pedal board back there. Well, it's actually golden in color right there. That's the universal audio pedal. However, all right. Oh, this is going to be kind of fun. So now I get a chance to have the sort of conversation I can never have in a gear demo. So this is the new Big Sky. So what do they call it? Big Sky MX, right? So this is a phenomenal reverb. My guess is you're going to see a Timeline MX coming sometime soon. You kind of just can't go wrong. I mean, what I love about this is you got a million algorithms and knob positions so you can twiddle away to your heart's content. You have native MIDI jacks. All right, so this is where there are some things that brands do that just make absolutely no sense. So I love the UA stuff. One of my favorite things about UA, boy, we're having fun here today. The UA pedals, between the Starlight, which is the black pedal right there, and the golden, which is that pedal right there, the Starlight's a delay and the golden is a reverb. And you can load my 2 favorite Universal Audio algorithms onto there. My Lexicon 224 reverb, which I absolutely love and live by in the studio, and the Cooper Time Cube, which I love and live by in the studio as well. So the ability to load those onto my pedal board, that's a game changer. So that round trip that we kind of talked about, an ecosystem, to have that in the studio and be able to put them on your board is phenomenal. However, those pedals do not have MIDI. I cannot begin to understand, and I'm actually going to have a micro rant, and I've said this to the good folks at UA, who I love dearly. Why in the world would you build a pedal that if you open up a new Pro Tools session, when you load the session, it takes the settings of what you're doing? So that you do have presets on each one of the buttons there, but if you think about when you load your Pro Tools session, those settings load automatically. That's equivalent of using something like the RJM PBC6X controller, which is kind of my go-to controller. See, can I get you into frame here? Yeah, there we go. This guy right here, that's the edge of that puppy. But basically, it allows you to create a whole kind of, in addition to having loops on there where you can turn different pedals on and off, you can actually reorder them. It also sends MIDI information, so it's kind of a nice small brain for your entire rig. So I want to step on that. I don't want to have to step on 5 flipping other pedals to get them to do what I need them to do. It's absolutely ludicrous for the money that those guys are. And by the way, those are power hogs on a level I could not conceive. So back there, you will actually see, hold on, let me move this. I actually have a one-spot CS7 and a one-spot CS12. I couldn't power those pedals just off of a CS12. That means, like, I've never had that happen. So they have way more of a current draw. They draw more milliamps than the Strymon stuff, dramatically so. So I was like, man. So to answer your question, for those reasons, and I love the UA stuff, but in all honesty, in terms of a pedal board situation, really disappointing that other functionality isn't built in there. I don't quite know what they were thinking. I was very vocal about it with my main PR contact there, but I don't know. You know, it's honestly a disconnect with people. That said, what's on my board back there? I love them, but in terms of kind of the one pedal that's kind of like, because of the MIDI and because of the great sounds, you cannot go wrong with this box. It sounds great. Can't go wrong with it. For those reasons and more. Was that enough of a rant? Okay, so I'm going to kind of, again, now we're talking about aux. So the thing about the aux, this is, the other thing is I understand the reactive load that's into aux, and they sound great, is actually the reactive load from a deluxe reverb. And the great thing about the Waza Tube Amp Expander is that by manipulating the presence and resonance controls here, you're able to basically manipulate the reactive load that the amplifier is seeing. That is to say, there is this reactive, basically, this enables you to fine-tune the way that relationship between the amplifier and the speaker interacts. And so this allows you to fine-tune that for a number of different types of amplifiers, utilizing the resonance and the presence controls. And that's actually the real magic sauce about the Waza Tube Amp Expander, in that you can actually get the Marshall to behave like a Marshall. The downside of the aux is that, as I understand, the reactive load that's built into it is a reactive load of a deluxe reverb. So if you're wanting to match an AC30 or a Marshall, it's not going to allow the amplifier to see the same reactive load that it's expecting to if it were actually hooked up to the cabinet. And so that's really kind of one of the really cool things about the Waza Tube Amp Expander. And again, as the amp is looking at seeing that speaker cabinet, it's doing so in a virtual way, and they've modeled that load to make the amp feel like it's actually seeing a cabinet. And it's my understanding that through these controls, you're properly, quote-unquote, fine-tuning so you can match one-to-one. It's a Marshall's wanting to see. It's mimicking the way a Marshall is going to respond with its speaker cabinet. So the amp is going to behave more like it would. That does not in any way, shape, or form mean that the aux doesn't sound great, because it does. And there are a ton of people who absolutely love their aux boxes. I'm kind of curious, Dan, are you able to use yours with the app or any of the Wi-Fi stuff? Scott, good morning. Hello again. I'll add that I recommend the Captor X over the regular Captor. Its feature set is a little bit more robust. The regular Captor is super simple, and you can do everything in their app. So this is, again, when we talk about the real tweakers. I wonder if I can launch the Captor X app without anything being hooked up. Let me just see real quick. Applications. Or wall of sound. W. Two Notes Engineering. Torpedo Remote. Hang on. Give me a second here. Let's see. I'm going to try and launch Pro Tools here. And first of all, for everybody who's tuned in, thanks for joining us. And we are certainly having a geeky old time here. Oh, there we go. Mike, I do need more boogies. You got that right. Hang on a second. Let's see if Pro Tools is going to allow us to load Wall of Sound. We should be able to. Give me a moment. All right. But we are having all sorts of fun. This is pure geekery in the finest form. All right. And I tell you what, let me just jump down. If I happen to miss anybody's question, the Tube Amp Expander is my choice for live. There we go. Jim Wagner, good morning. Rant away. Come on. I love you, Paul. You are the best. All right. Yes, things are flipping power hungry. All right, give me a moment. Let me see if I can load Wall of Sound. Okay. No. Okay. Wall of Sound. Sorry, folks. This will just take a minute. It's been a minute since I loaded the plugin. I should be able to have it. Because I'll be able to share what it looks like, and that's kind of the goal here. All right, let's try it on a mono channel. There it is. Let's do it here. Let's load the plugin. Oh, it's making me... should be activated. Oh, crap. Cancel. Seriously? All right. All right. It's not seeing my activation, so I'm going to skip that. My apologies. All right. Things are crazy power hungry. Thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate that. The PVC6X, for those of you who don't know, again, is it's a controller that allows you to control 6 loops. More if you kind of do some magic there. I think 3 mono, 3 stereo, and it also sends MIDI information and receives MIDI information. I have my other one over here. Yeah, I do. Give me a moment. I should have a second PVC6X over here. Here we go. What's neat about it is it's small, but ton of jacks. So no, my bad. It only has MIDI out, so it does not receive MIDI in. But that's because it's intended to be the brain. But that native MIDI jack, if you're kind of wanting, there is a trend as of late, especially on some of the smaller pedals, to not use standard MIDI jacks. And while I understand that, if it's a really small pedal, I can kind of get it. But once you kind of end up on a slightly larger form factor, not having native MIDI, it's a giant pain in the butt. So having a MIDI in and out is like this guy, will have a MIDI in and out. Allows you to kind of go into one pedal and daisy chain on another. And just in case you don't speak MIDI, basically allows you to do one of two main functions. One is I can change presets on here through a PC, a program change, and then through CC, control change, I can change the value of a parameter such as the mix. So you can in turn map that mix to an expression pedal. So that means you can have, for example, the amount of reverb pedal all the way back, no reverb, mix to whatever percentage you want all the way. Most of the time, you don't necessarily want 100% wet reverb, but you want to get to a certain point where, like, oh, that's as much as I'm ever going to want, or maybe just a little bit more. So if you back off, you've got just, as much as you want, but you can back off. So just in case you ever need a little bit more, or whatever it is that works for you. The point being is that ability to then run the one MIDI cable from here into here and then piggyback out into another device. Generally speaking, let's just imagine that it's running like this, and I have a second one of these over here. That's like I've got my timeline and my reverb. So this guy I'm going to keep on MIDI channel 1. This guy I'm going to keep on MIDI channel 2. And this guy, let's say this is my next device, and this one's my delay running into my reverb. This one's on MIDI channel 2. This one's going to be on MIDI channel 3. Generally speaking, I run my MIDI channels based on the order in the signal chain, so you can kind of look around and look at the ecosystem of gear that you're using, going, that's the first, second, third, and fourth in my signal chain. MIDI channel 1, MIDI channel 2, MIDI channel 3. It just allows you to make sense of things in a logical way, so you can always know which device is which. Works for me really well. There is a high probability in June or so, maybe July, that there will be a very cool rigs course coming. I can't totally tell you who I'm working on it with, but they are a rig expert, and so these are the sorts of things that are going to be built in there. We're going to, without going into too much detail, the ability to have a strategy as you're working on your rig, and there are certain rig archetypes. For example, there's a Stevie Ray rig, not a hint of MIDI going on there. And then there's a John Petrucci rig. There's a ton of MIDI going on there. And using those as two extremes, in many ways the Stevie Ray is kind of a derivative, if you will, of the Hendrix rig. Right? At different times you saw Hendrix using Marshalls and Fenders and whatnot. And then Stevie Ray used an AB box, which at the time I don't think Jimmy did, but one of the things that was in Stevie Ray's rig was an MXR ABY box, and I've got one of those over in the rack there. But the idea is there's certain needs that the more your rig progresses, having a strategy around how you put those. So imagine the first day you ever got your first amp and your first pedal. The day you went and got your second pedal is the day that rig route begins, going, which one goes into which one and why? If it's a time-based effect, I'm running my delay into my distorted amplifier. That sounds like Dookie. Effects loops. Oh, okay. So this, having the archetypes and being able to build rigs around those basic models is kind of the approach that we're going to be using, and I'm super excited about that. Well, there you have it. Okay. That's a mouthful. All right, Bill, what's going on, my man? Yes. So, there's certain things you just can't say. You can't go wrong with the Strymon stuff. So, and the Eventide stuff is absolutely phenomenal. I love the UA stuff, but the non-flippin' MIDI functionality is just, one of the things that I'm personally, and again, most of the time, I did not see. So thank you. For those of you who didn't hear about it, I'm surprised I haven't seen more suggested videos about it. So I saw a little something about it called the Arredondo. And Jose Arredondo was the guy that is probably the most famous Marshall amp mod dude on the planet. He's dead, and his daughter kind of was part of the official groundbreaking, if you will, for the Friedman Jose or the Arredondo amp, which basically has, as I understand it, Dave Friedman's favorite Jose mods built into an amp. It should be great. I have, as I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, it's from my dear friend, and it's a Jose modded amp that used to belong to John Sykes and then Joe Satriani, and now belongs to a friend of mine. And it is a rest in peace, John Sykes, obviously. Great guitar player, huge contribution to rock and roll. R.I.P. This amp is a fire-breathing monster, and it's just kind of everything you want to have when you plug into a Marshall. So that's going to be one of the things when we were doing the panel with the folks at Neural DSP. I mentioned that amp was kind of waiting in the wings to kind of make its way into this collection of stuff, and my new friend Max at Neural DSP was like, can't wait to get that. So it's a really exciting piece of gear because it's an important part of the lineage of guitar tone. Very valuable in terms of what it represents, and because it's got the lineage that it has, it's an especially important amplifier in the scheme of things. All right, let's see here. Dr. Phil, hello, my friend. 63 degrees in Fort Worth. So, Dan, that, I think we're going to see that over and over and over and over again. And the digital effects have gotten so good. And it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to happen. Is it going to be kind of OEM stands for original equipment manufacturer? I think that's the acronym for that. Is it going to be that you're going to have Strymon that's going to be built into said amplifier, or will it be kind of under the hood that's developed by Strymon? It'll be a very interesting thing to see how that will there be modules, kind of like happened on the Seymour Duncan amp. One of the other cool pieces of gear that I saw at NAMM, well, I remember the name of this brand. So I ran into Thomas Nordig, and Thomas has always got longtime Steve Vai guitar tech. Has always got some crazy piece of gear that he's discovered, and it's this guitar company that's got these different modules. What the heck was that thing called? Nope. But it's a really cool guitar. I played the fretless one. I've always wanted fretless, so one of my guitars is going to get turned into a fretless guitar. It's very clear that's going to happen. But there are these little different distortion and effects modules that are built into it, and you can pull the thing apart for travel. Very interesting. It's from Turkey. Fascinating instrument. But the idea of having these things on board, push-pull. Hold on a second. I'm currently doing captures of all my amps. There you go. Come on. Captures of Doom. I find the stock Mesa cabinets with cab clone are really, they are phenomenal, Albert. I am just consistent because I'm just looking, behind me you'll see a Shure SM57 and a Royer 121 on that Badlander 50 combo. In all honesty, I love mics. I'm going to be doing some stuff for my good friends Roswell Pro Audio. One of the things that happened on the Sunday after NAMM this year and last year, there's a kind of a Roswell jam, and I got a chance to play with this group of musicians. It's always interesting to be the weak link in the chain. It's always actually great where you're kind of like, every player in the room outplayed me, which is flipping a great place to be because it really keeps you on your toes. So I'm looking forward to next year. I'm a practicing fanatic these days, so it's always exciting to be in a room full of people. You're going, holy cow! There we go. I have a pair of DV Mark FR neodymium mags, 18 pounds each. They're hard to find, but sound killer, Rick. Yeah, and again, for those of you who don't know, basically, your average speaker, they're heavy. If you got 2 or 4 of them, they get really heavy. And so the neodymium or neodymium, depending on how you pronounce them, they're much lighter. And so what's neat about them is they sound really good. And I think, well, of course you like Reg. You're from Canada. So the Spark stuff is great. What I've got actually up behind me is the Spark. It's their mini PA, and it's about yay big. and it's great, especially if you ever have to play with loops or something like that. And it's kind of got the whole range of stuff. And the Spark amps are also awesome, and they've kind of got this whole AI thing going on. I think they're going to continue to be a huge contribution to the ecosystem again of all that gear. Oh my word! How do you really feel, Brett? Okay, hold on a second. I have the Les Paul Custom Shop Axis guitar with Floyd Rose. The neck is slow. The finish from Gibson sucked, but it's fun to play regardless. To the person who asked about Axis. Hello, Steve. Sorry I missed you. Uh, Interesting. So I am super. The funny thing is, I'm geeking out on Epiphone guitars these days. The Marty Schwartz ES is just a crazy great guitar, and there are several others that I'll bring in next week. Thank you very much, Brian. I am. I'm talking about gear seems to be a healing thing. So I did see. Thank you, Chris. The MXR pedal. I did not get a chance to play through that. Obviously, Pete Thorne's got a video that I think's got like 100,000 views the last time I saw it. Probably making it sound great, like he makes everything sound. So chances are that and as I understand, uh, first of all, the relationship between the MXR and Rockman and Dunlop and the collection of brands there. Those everything those guys do is great. I can't think of one Dunlop pedal that I don't love. So, all right, let me jump down to the bottom here. Brian Newman, did I say hello? Hello. All right, let me get down to the bottom here. Okay. Lance Seymour. I saw you liked the post that was on Instagram. Great to see you, my friend. Do me a favor. Shoot me a text when you get a moment. Would love to connect via phone. The John Lennon tribute Epiphone is unreal. They are making phenomenal instruments. Absolutely. I can't wait till we get a chance to talk, my friend. Great to see you. Always a pleasure. All right. Oh, hang on. Wait, I missed something here. There we go. Got it. Okay, hang on a second. Oh, that's awesome. Great. Phenomenal. I hadn't seen that. Very cool. Need to get... All right, hold on a second. Oh, that's awesome. Come on. Sucked back in. I actually... It was nice to get thrown around the ring. 57 and 121 is just... It's... until you got into the Telefunken and stuff. So, Gary Brower, my guitar tech partner in crime, borrowed my M80 and my and the M81. Those are phenomenal. I love those. All right, hold on. The best cab. Oh no, wait. I'm going backwards here. This is not good. Hold on a second. All right, finish the tune, my friend. Awesome, Sonia. This is terrible. I'm going backwards trying to make sense of this. All right, there we go. Hold on a second. Let's try and do this intelligently. Yes, the tube amp expander is a phenomenal piece of gear. No, I can't get it to work on my amp account, but I'm selling my aux. There we go. I had it maybe 5 years ago. Probably some updates since. Some of the physical connectors were kind of odd, as I recall. Spencer, how you doing, man? My man, always a pleasure. Always looking at some questions. All right. G411. That's what happens when I get distracted. Let's see here. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. Hang on a second. I'm going to see. Whatever's going to let me drop these in. Give me a moment here, folks. All right. I'm going to go over here. Let's see if I can do this without making heinous amounts of noise. There we go. First of all, there. Oh, you're not going to let me drag and drop you. Let's see if I can do this. All right, fine. Copy Dropbox link. All right, thank you, Griffin, for the reminder. Can I pin you? Come on. Raphael, good morning, my man. Can I pin this comment? No, I can't. I just, in... All right, there we go. In the chat on both of these, I just dropped the link to those second finger root modes. Thank you for the reminder, Griffin. Hello, hello. Okay. Kevin, great to see you. You may have missed the part where I said for the past 2 days I've been semi-comatose with something that was a delayed Namthrax. In any case, it was great to run into you. Kevin and I had this great conversation about some knobs that at some point sooner or later we're going to make some custom knobs. It's going to be great. It was a pleasure to run into you. I don't know why I thought you were from someplace not Benicia, but it was a pleasure to run into you. A lot of fun. Hi. All right. All right. So, Griffin, that should take care of you, my friend. Dancing on the leg. Okay. I would say the debate the use of there we go. I was going to say you're always a troublemaker, and I love that. I don't use the Captain Wall of Sound much anymore. I use the Badlanders. Yeah. So I mean, the great thing about again what we're talking about is this ecosystem of things that work together to really create this round trip solution. And again, ecosystem being the operative word, we know that more and more venues want a silent stage. We know that more and more guitar players want to be able to step on one button and have, a bunch of things happen at the same time. We know we want it to sound great, so we don't want to compromise in the midst of all of it. That's where I think, as we begin to think about how the ecosystem as we begin to, I believe, see effects start to come into the ecosystem of the amp sphere. Again, that diesel amp, Michael Nielsen has a demo of that amplifier. I think we're going to see more and more. And I think Sonia mentioned that last a couple episodes ago. I think it's a very exciting place to be. Okay. So the VP4 does not, that's a great question. And you also had some other questions that you sent through. So the VP4 is an effects-only device. It is a phenomenal piece of gear. The one thing that's a little bit of a bummer per this morning is that I'm usually really, really good. One is where I place my quote-unquote wall warts, and two, in labeling them. But as of this morning, as I went to assemble a rig for today, I could not find the power supply for my VP4. So, for those of you that, well, let's see. Hang on. How close might I be? Well, here we go. Oh, this is disgusting. Here we go. Oh, you can tell by the grunt. This is how many wall warts I possess. Seriously. So, there are a couple that just got thrown on the top here because I ran out of time. But basically, I've got them organized into my brands. There's Rocktron and Specific. So the idea is this is where some of these individual pedals will get put into. But these guys should be there's the 9 volts, and then there's 12 volts, and there's AC long. So there's literally every possible designation of wall wart you could ever want. And if you don't have some sort of label maker like this, invariably you will put the wrong wart into the wrong socket, and bad things can happen. So the point being is I encourage you to get a label maker. That's, what are you? You're a brother. It's a brother. P-Touch. Doug Doppler signature. Kidding. But labeling different devices, I'm big on the labeling. It just makes life really easy. The other thing I would suggest doing, once you get more than 4 or so guitars, is I create labels that sit on the top side of the guitar. By the way, let me rephrase. If you have the case in front of you, and you were to open and you lay it flat and open the lid up, the side of the case that stays connected with the ground, put the label there, because once you open up the lid, you can't see which case it's for. So let's say you've got 2 identical guitars or 2 similar guitars, you know which guitar goes in which case. The other thing that I do, because the cases quite frequently get loaded in a cubby that I've got where they kind of go in neck first, as I will do the same thing on the bottom. If again, you think about the case opening like that, on the bottom side of the butt end of the case, I will sometimes put it on the top side as well, again, on the part that doesn't door/fly open. And that enables you to have the ability to see which guitar you're looking at or which case you're looking at kind of in all the standard positions it would be in. And that's a huge help when you've got a couple of guitars sitting in a pile or something. You go, oh, that's the one I need to get to. And the same thing with all the wall warts. There was a period of time that those bags just had the wall warts thrown in there. Now I've got everything that's in there, for the most part, has a label on it, unless it's something really painfully obvious like this guy. And this is a Boss one, but just about everything has got a label on it, and it just makes life that much easier to deal with. This is a Line 6 guy. I know what that's for, but the things that aren't as obvious, it's really good idea to label those guys. Is Tonex the topic here now? It's one of them. First of all, never late for you. Always right on time. So, in terms of the VP4, besides the power supply rant, it is an effects unit, and it's a great effects unit. It does not have the extreme versatility of the FM3, FM9, and the FX3, but it is a phenomenal piece of gear. So, and it's great for doing the 4-cable method. Because it has less I/O, it basically has 2 ins and 2 outs. And that's the thing about the Fractal hiding down here. The FX3 is there is so much I/O, you can do a bunch of very, very sophisticated things with it. For example, use it as for stereo delays on 2 different amps, which is when we did kind of the Petrucci rig. That's actually what we did. We used it, and there's so much firing power inside there that you can do that with. The VP4, what's great again is for kind of a 4-cable method. Your pre-effects and your post-effects, it's great for that, and it's a small footprint. I wish it had an IEC cable. It uses a wall wart, hence my kind of scramble looking for the wall wart this morning. Good idea to have a strategy. What happened is the kind of the rush out of here down to NAMM was a little bit frantic. I ended up taking the FM3. So to answer your question, what is it that really separates the FM3 and the FM9? The FM3 and the FM9... Last I saw the FM9, it was over here. There we go. And the FM3, which this morning I was trying to stuff in the rack. There we go. Well, kind of obvious there is that you have a lot more buttons. And for those of us that like to be able to kind of... the advantage of the FM9... to me is you can use it if you're so inclined. If you're a big user of kind of pre-effects, this is really being able to run it in kind of a traditional pedal board mode. To me, is one of the key benefits of that form factor. The Axe-Fx 3, because it sits down there in the rack, you'll use some sort of external controller to do that. And generally speaking, I default to the PBC6X, and then I will generally be running the PBC6X in kind of preset mode. So then I'll kind of go preset by preset, but you can then kind of, if you will, quote unquote, bank into a pedal board mode where you can get the 4 buttons across the front there to turn on or off different loops and or control different things in your Axe-Fx. Generally speaking, a la John Petrucci, John uses a combination of stomp boxes and then the time-based effects inside the Axe-Fx. Generally speaking, there's something a little special about each one of those little boxes. They kind of, it's not just the sound of the effect. They do kind of add their own little something to the signal chain, and that's part of the sound of the effect, in my opinion. That the whole circuit just kind of does a little something that it can be a detractor, I suppose. That is to say, there's nothing quite like running straight into the amplifier. Nothing. But at the same time, when you want some of that gooiness that you get from different effects, I think that's an important thing. So, there we go. Mike Rand. Oh, hang on a second here. Where is this? Hold on a second. Okay, so Mike, you get MIDI in, but you need a splitter cable. Okay, thank you very much. I believe he is talking about the PBC6X there, which I should have known, but forgot. There we go. Hang on. So, there we go. Hang on, scrolling down. Tonix was 20 minutes ago, but I'm waiting. Look at the greeting you're getting, or look at that. Oh, you had that bad. I had the bad cold too, Sonia. I'm glad you're on the mend. Yuck. All right, good. I'm kind of a little further up, so I'm going to scroll down and get up to current events. Hang on a second. If anybody has any questions that I missed, go ahead and type them back in again. All right, let me get down here. Again, Raphael, good morning. Good. There's that link. Griffin, with great pleasure. Namthrax, come on. Snow. Like that photo, my friend. Dealing with... Oh, dude. So the slightly exhausted, kind of lying on your back, kind of like a little bit of sore throat thing. I also forgot to tell you, if you need knobs or anything for your Mesa Boogie amps, we have them. We build most of the knobs and things for Boogie. Noted, and thank you. Oh, there you go. Does that make you a soccer dad? Just curious. So, Spencer, the deal is, after enough disasters, I finally went, I've got to label everything. So you want to know how anal it is? This bag is marked feet. There you go. And inside the feet, well, there's the feet for the Wazatube amp expander. And then I organize things. The labeling makes it such that there is process. And this bag goes into a box. It's called space junk. That is to say, for those of us, you know what I'm talking about. You have all this stuff like, where do I organize that? Space junk. That is that stuff that's floating around in outer space and it doesn't really belong to Earth or Mars. It goes into space junk box. That's where all that stuff live. I've got the washers, because the challenge is one day you're like, I need a washer that's made out of this material, so on and so forth. You just have to kind of deal with it. Hang on a second. Let's see. Ooh. Okay. All right. There we go. Come on. Love that. So the thing about this particular label maker, it is not MIDI switchable. So I'm hoping in the next version of this, it's going to have MIDI functionality both in and out. I'm not going to have to use a splitter cable. And it's also going to have built-in effects, right? Delay and reverb. So when you hit the keys, so yeah, very, very important on your label maker. You got to have multiple effects. Guitars in a pile, you have no idea. I do give my guitars names, but the funny thing is, so this is Stallion, right? So it's kind of a black Stallion. This guitar is, this is number 1 V, because it's the number 1 V. And this is Dave, because it's the Dave Mustaine signature Kramer, right? So it's just Dave. It seemed to make sense, right? I do name my guitars. Who else names their guitars? And there you go. The FM9 is awesome. You are a troublemaker for once. So that's a really great question. So, okay, so like I said, there's a balance of you and me, because what makes these shows special for me is I try and spend as much time focusing on you, such that you have a reason to come. Because it's really easy as a player to kind of go, oh, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm thinking. It's just like, that's kind of crap, right? But one of the things that is become apparent. And so coming back, what I'm working on is, first of all, the past 2 days were non-practice days. I didn't play guitar for 2 days, which is the first time in months that's happened. I've been on this mad practice routine, and I've just been loving it. And hopefully when we see each other next week, I'll be able to run you through a bunch of things that are kind of in my current practice routine. I'm also ramping up on 15-minute fundamentals, ladies and gentlemen. So that course material that I've been practicing songs for both the instrumental and the vocal album. But as I've been listening to the material, the concept of developing, quote unquote, the rig and the sound design for specific songs is something that's been top of mind. And so the idea of having your signature sounds and a signature sound that's dialed in with kind of one rig that you can part stuff out is important. So the great thing about the Fractal ecosystem is the delays and the reverbs. There's some stuff that I could not find on the VP4, but it may be because those algorithms take up a larger amount of bandwidth. There was one that the Worship Tutorial guys had that had this crazy, beautiful, lush, cascading reverb that I went to find that on the VP4. I'm like, oh, that's not on there. Maybe in a future firmware update, but it's possible that some of the algorithms to make all the stuff fit in there with arguably a smaller processor, there's some that didn't, quote-unquote, spill over to the unit. I need to do some research on that. But the point being is that as you deal with whether it's FM3, FM9, or AXFX3, those algorithms are continuous. So it means that you can have a kind of a scalable rig, but if it's certain sounds for certain songs, you then can do that. That's the same thing with the universal audio pedal. So kind of I'm at a fork in a road where I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a combination of that pedal board back there, which is a big board, in combination with the AXFX3. So that means that if there's certain sounds that are AXFX sounds, I've got them. If there's certain sounds that are UA sounds, that are round trip sounds coming from what I'm doing inside the DAW, those are there. The other thing is that delays and reverbs will sit in a particular way inside a if you will, a 2-track mix that's a little bit different than the way they'll actually sit in the room with drums and bass banging away. So there is also that continuum, right? So as a player, I usually can kind of make things, work when whatever situation I'm in and kind of bend with, kind of the flow of what's going on. But that's different than kind of really coming up with, these are the signature sounds for these particular songs. So that's one of the things I'm actually really excited about the next month or two, is as I sit with these songs in the studio, both the vocal songs and the instrumental songs, and just kind of going, okay, there's one of the sounds is it's kind of what I call the guitar harmonica. Kind of a little Keith Richards inspired. And there's a box over here. It's a little Dunlop box. Watch me pull this box out of my drawer. So this is The sweet spot controller, if you take a look closely, you can actually see the top is a sticker. So when I saw it on Reverb, it said a prototype, and there's a thing. Where it's using basically pinch harmonic. And it's got this slightly harmonica-esque quality. Kind of a wow, kind of a deal to it, and the controller really adds that. Another one of the kind of, it's this little kind of a keyboard-like thing. Have you ever heard keyboard players? The way they kind of roll the pentatonic. It's a different way than we play the pentatonics as guitar players. And so that's kind of one of the things that elicits as well. So that box has got to kind of be built into a board. The challenge when you've got a piece of gear like this, it's kind of, if you will, irreplaceable, because it literally is a prototype. I've never seen another one. I'm going to send this. It's actually got a circuit board on it. So somewhere out there, somebody will know what this is. And I'm friendly with the Dunlop folks. But I'm going to see if they can't recreate it. It probably cost me a little arm and a leg. But I want to have a second one, because before I plop it on the board, you know, something happens and the board gets lost, stolen, or whatever, you don't necessarily want to lose a piece of gear like that. That's to the best of my knowledge, is really kind of one of a kind. So that poses a little bit of a problem. You can kind of use it in a kind of a cocked wah, is one of the ways that you can get there. But this box has a particularly unique sound. And then one of the things that I've done is in pencil. You probably can't see it unless I get it just in the right light. I've kind of marked where the settings are. That's kind of the sweet spot of the thing that it does. But it's a very unique device. So working around, you know, when you listen to a particular track on these albums that I'm working on, there's a very specific thing that when you hear it, as much as there's kind of a continuous guitar vibe, there are also specific things that you want to have happen with the effects. Such that you're carving out kind of a little unique niche for each of the songs. So there's something a little bit different, but still a continuum. It's a kind of a strange balance of customization and unique. And when I sorry. That needs a little short little delay on it, so it'll have that quality. There's a player. I wonder if I've got his track queued up here. Named Charlie Musselwhite. No, that's not it. Let me see if I can get to Charlie's track here. There we go. Let's see if I can get... see if I can get called out on this with Walter Trout. When the harmonica comes in, that's just that. Oh, shut. But that little bit of slap back echo and a room reverb is one of the ways you kind of crawl into that space. So you're framing the different, because I'm never going to really. I'm never really going to totally nail the vocal sound of the harmonic with a. But I can get close enough so that when I kind of put. Let's make the analogy. One of the other things that happened at NAMM was PRS had its 40th anniversary, and I got a chance to see that. And got a chance to see John Mayer play, and the thing is, he could be playing through anything. You can instantly recognize what he's doing, right? So there's a certain amount where you do certain things and it just sounds like you. But the analogy I was going to make, they had sustainable sliders where the bun and the patty was all made from some sort of vegetarian, vegan-friendly sort of thing. And it looked enough and tasted enough like a slider that you kind of went, I get it, it's a pseudo slider, right? But the idea is if you frame a sound that's not identical but close enough, that framing, the look of the bun and the look of the patty, you go, all right, it's close enough so you can kind of get into that space, right? So that ability to do that. Thank you, Lance. Needs a slight formant filter. Okay. There we go, Chris. Charlie Musselwhite. So in terms of that harmonica vibe, every time I hear him, it's just like a knife through the heart. I'm like, that sound, his vibe, and that there's just every note he's taking his time, and it's a particular thing. So the idea that it also sounds a little bit like an Octavia as well, but it happens right around the 12th fret, and I'm way choked up on the pick, and it's just a. And it feels so cool to play, and it's just, it's a unique thing that I knew I wanted to do it, and then I had to figure out how to do it. But a short, really kind of skanky reverb, for lack of a better way of describing it, is one of the cool things of getting there. 15-minute fundamentals, Griffin, come on, you know it. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna. Yeah, you are a troublemaker, Spencer, and I love that about you. Jose, what's going on, my man? Great to see you. Hello. So I'm curious, those of you with the 15-minute fundamentals on your mind, for those of you who don't know, 15-minute fundamentals is a collection of exercises that, as the name implies, in 15 minutes, you can go through it. It's easy, it's straightforward, but it allows, such that as you are a little bit older, and you go through these periods of time where, there we go, the last harmonica to Clarksdale. Instead of feeling like your technique is falling off, just allows you to kind of keep it's a basic workout, right? It's kind of like you go to the gym, it's just a basic workout so you're not losing whatever you've got. The other part of it, though, that's super important is the consistency part. The idea is that we're looking for, if I play this while I'm talking, in theory, I should be able to play this with enough comfort. So I'm walking through these different modes, which, by the way, are the fingerings that I shared in the links down below on Facebook and YouTube. And we're looking for total 100% accuracy. And the advantage of this is, as you're playing fill-in-the-blank song or fill-in-the-blank solo that maybe you've been working on, you're doing nothing but focusing on note accuracy, which is a really important thing. And yes, you can speed that up and work on speed, but the goal of this is really like, hey, it's consistency. It's getting things underneath your fingertips and an array of things. One of the things that I'm kind of battling back and forth with, there's a new dent on the guitar. Good. I kind of like, this guitar has been through enough, and you can see the edges there. I don't beat it up on purpose, but I'm kind of proud of its war marks. It's just kind of, it's been played. I love that. But, whether in fact it should be the same identical workout or there should be some variations. And the danger when you get into variation land, you really open up the floodgates of all the different things it can be. But, for example, one of the things that you could do, there's going to be an exercise in there called the triad chord relay, where you're just going to go major, minor, minor, and all these I'm designing initially will be around launch metronome app. GBD, ACE, BDF sharp, CEG. The first version of that is just playing the triads with an even tempo. And and we talked about this earlier, but this diatonic triad relationship, 99% of the music you play is going to come. And if we go, that's basically 6, 5, 4, 4, 5, 6. I'm in a different key and I'm slightly out of tune. But the point being is it allows you to place chord progressions of just a huge number of them in different keys on the guitar and understand how they relate to each other. So this exercise, as I present it to people, will have enough of the background so they understand where it comes from, why it works, and why it matters. But the point being is the simple version is just going major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major, major, diminished, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the idea is you go up and down, you call out the type of chord it is, so you get used to being able to go major, minor, minor. But then you also begin to think about how it's functioning as in 6, 5, 4, 4, 5, 6, how each of these chords function as 6, 5, 4, 4, 4, 5, 6. So you're getting fluent with that skill. But one of the other layers for people that are like, oh, that's really too simple, where you go GBD, ACE, BDF sharp, CEG, DF sharp, A, EGB, F sharp, A, C, GBD, GBD, F sharp, A, C, EGB, DF sharp, A, CEG, BDF sharp, A, C, GBD. That is significantly harder. So one of the ideas I've toyed with is adding some layers of sophistication, if you will, to some of these exercises to kind of go, hey, here's a harder variation, rather than just kind of having it be nice and straightforward. So, Griffin, you and any of the, the folks that have been hearing about the Just Jason period would be, oh, what's Robert Johnson great? That's awesome. So much great music from that area of the world, my friend. That was one of the great things about being able to play in Muscle Shoals, is you're kind of getting a download from that. As it relates to 15-minute fundamentals, if anybody's kind of like, hey, it would be great if it's just one set of things that I don't have to worry about variations, or would you value having the ability to spin in a couple of other things that kind of allow you to, once you've got the primary exercise dialed, you have a couple of variations that make it a more sophisticated exercise, and in so doing, give you a little bit more depth of field with that. Bueller? 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 Not everybody at once. I find my ear changing. I get... Wait a second. Hang on a second. I find my ear changing. I got a setting on the, yes, Line 6 DT50, and we didn't get together for some weeks, and I thought, this sounds horrible. Maybe I'm even using you as a guitar psych. I know junior college is growing in expense, but if you can get into a jazz rock combo clash, it exposes you to keyboard and horn players and drummers. You will learn how to adjust. And I like Painful. So, yeah, thank you, Griffin. The idea is that the initial concept was like, here's just 15 minutes of stuff. Just practice this. This is a great baseline across scales and chords. and enough note naming stuff to just kind of get people used to doing it. But the triad chord relay, this exercise, for example, has you going up and down major, minor, minor, and then 1, 2, 3. So you get used to seeing what the chord names are as you're playing them. So you associate what the order is, so you can go, oh, that's major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major, but also associating the 1, 2, 3, 4, the scale degree numbers that go along with those chords. And the idea is, in addition to that, okay, thank you, Chris, is being able to go, all right, once you've got that dialed, say you're on week 52, you're like, major, minor, minor, so on and so forth, as opposed to G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F sharp, C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, E, G, F sharp, A, C, G, B, D, so on and so forth. So you then kind of go, okay, the next level of sophistication is calling out the triad note names for each of those chords. So it just gives you some ways to do that. And the idea is that it gives everybody a baseline and a starting place, and without making it too wacky. Another thing about this, and I'm going to throw this out there, and then I've got to prepare for my first lesson of the day, is if you take a look at the minor pentatonic scale, one of the things that's really interesting is if you take a look at this G, C, F, B flat, D, and G. First of all, if you think about the starting note on each string, obviously the note on the low E string and the high E string is the same. So if you take a look at this this going G, C, F, B flat, D, G. Well, the thing is that no matter where you are in the scale, you're going to be somewhere in that sequence as you go. Well, that right there is the B flat, so that's that. So that means the next note is going to be a D, which means the next note is going to be a G. That G moves down an octave, means the next note is going to be a C, and the next note is going to be an F, and the next note is going to be a B flat. So if you can kind of track, all right, we're starting at B flat, so that's B flat, D, G, C, F, B flat. That allows you to go, oh, B flat, D, G, C, F, B flat. And then you get over here, that's starting the same thing off of the C. Sorry. And so on and so forth. So you begin to see these patterns, so you can kind of begin to go, all right, well, if I can call out my starting note as in G, C, F, B flat, D, G, and then go the opposite on your way back down, B flat, F, C, G, D, B flat. You get used to really getting intimately aware of the note names of the pentatonic. Why that matters, so we talked about before, if you're playing the G minor pentatonic, for example, your tonic chord is going to be a G minor, and those notes are G, B flat, D, which you can express like G, D, G, B flat, D, G. Resolving to the G. There's the B flat. There's the D. And there's the G. So we kind of become aware of which notes we want to resolve to because we see the connection between the chord and the notes and the scale. And, so the idea is that the 15-minute fundamentals is about giving people just a regular practice routine that gets those fundamentals underneath their fingertips, but also in the act of saying, hey, I'm not just going to show you the 5 patterns of the minor pentatonic scale. The idea is to give you, the enough background. You're going, hey, we're taking, in this case, G, B flat, C, D, F, G, B flat, C, D, F, G, which compared to the G major scale, whose notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, doesn't have the 2, and it doesn't have the 6. So instead of playing a natural 3, it's playing a flat 3. Instead of playing a natural 7, it's playing a flat 7. So that is to say, instead of going 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1, it's going 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. Which is why instead of going G, B, C, D, F sharp, G, it's going G, B flat, C, D, F, G. So you kind of go, oh, okay. That is to say, if you come from an instrument where you've played all 7 notes, starting off on piano, you can frame the minor pentatonic as how you took the major scale, got rid of the 2, lowered the 3, kept the 4, kept the 5, got rid of the 6, lowered the 7. You ended up with a flat 7. You end up with, which on the guitar we would be more inclined to play like that. And then we just kind of start off with each successive note, and that's generally not how we're taught the pentatonic. And if you can kind of go, all right, it's just a bunch of G's, B flat, C, D's, F's, and G's. So that means it's G, B flat, C, D, F, 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 G, B flat, C, D. F, G, B flat, C, D, F, and G, B flat, C, D, F, G. So the idea is just repeating over and over. So for example, instead of just going, playing the scale, once you're really comfortable with the fingerings, calling out the starting notes, G, C, F, B flat, D, G, B flat, F, C, G, D, B flat. In any case, I think that would be most helpful familiarizing people with the fretboard. If that's for variations, I vote for that. Okay, that's great. The thing that I want to do is provide enough variations such that each of the things that I do, it kind of has another layer of reveal. I think, first of all, the number of times I've said, to students, hey, do you know all 5 patterns of the minor pentatonic? Oh, yeah. It's all right. Play them without any gaps up and down the neck. And they're like, It's one of the things. Hold on. Over time, I just overlaid minor pentatonic with the minor scale. Randy was classically trained, but you can hear it in Metallica too. So, not in the framework of this, but it is a thing that we've talked about and we will talk about more. And it happened. I had Chris Colombo, I think, was on here earlier. One of my esteemed and much loved students. Is that if you can kind of see the relationship, if you can see that the minor pentatonic is compare again where we kind of went like this compared to we got rid of the 2, so it's going 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1, but it's going 1 flat 3 4 5 flat 7 1 1 flat 3 4 5 flat 7 1. That is, say we took the 7 notes to the major scale, we got rid of the 2, that's out of there. And got rid of the 6, that's out of there. So now we have 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1. And instead of that, we go 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. Go, oh, that's what the minor pentatonic is. Then instead of playing it like this, that's how we play that. And then we just start off with each successive note. But if you get used to calling out the note names like G, B flat, C, D, F, G, B flat, C, D, F, G, B flat, G, F, D, C, B flat, G, F, D, C, B flat, G, you really have insight to that scale. It allows you to again know where your G's, B flats, and D's are. So although this particular, the 15-minute fundamentals isn't about soloing per se, you can be preparing people to kind of go, hey, if you know this is G, B flat, C, D, F, G, B flat, C, D, F, G, B flat, and you know the G, B flat, D, G, B flat, D, G, B flat are the notes you want to resolve your phrases to wheelie, 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 wheelie. You can now lead people towards information that will help them as they go to spend their solo time together. So getting back to that overlaying stuff, hack of the day before I jump into my lesson prep mode is that the 3-note per string mode, let's say we take G Dorian. Now to play the minor pentatonic of G, if you take the 3-note per string mode below there, which is going to be F major, you get on the high E string, it automatically overlays the natural 6 and the natural 2. That is, say again, F major. Then you take that G minor pentatonic scale, the intersection of the top 2 strings, it overlays, for that little box there, overlays the natural 6 and the natural 2. If you did the same thing, we're thinking for G Phrygian, you go downstairs to F Dorian, and the top 2 strings, the way they overlay over the top of that G minor pentatonic, there's your flat 6 and your flat 2. And then if we're going in G minor pentatonic, and we're going to overlay G minor, we jump down stairs to F mixolydian. By the time we walk up to the top 2 strings, it overlays the flat 6 and the natural 2. So that makes it a really easy way to kind of fill in the blank that the natural 6 and natural 2 of Dorian, the flat 6 and the flat 2 of Phrygian, and the flat 6 and the natural 2 of minor. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I need to prep. I want to thank everybody for hanging out today. You have been so awesome. I really appreciate all the people that showed up. New faces, familiar faces, faces jumping in and out. I love doing this. It's such a privilege to be able to share my Saturday morning with you. The goal is, in the midst of sharing some of the things that are near and dear to my journey, more importantly, I share some things that are hopefully helpful for you on your guitar journey. So thank you for the privilege. Thank you for the time hanging out. Griffin, always a pleasure, my friend. And thank you for the coffee. We do love that New Orleans blend, and sometimes it's a matter of convenience on a Saturday that I don't always throw your stuff into the pot. But my friend, it is very much appreciated. Mike, thank you so much. Brett, what's going on? Great to see you. Hello, hello. With great pleasure. Mike, thank you so much. Excellent. Thank you. Really appreciate the feedback. Spencer, likewise. Thank you. Awesome. Look, I don't care who you are. It's always nice to know that people are appreciating what you're doing. So thank you very much. So in face and out of face. Very funny. All right, you guys. Have a great one. Thank you so much. Make it a great one. Sonia, if you're still watching, I hope you're going to feel better very shortly. Jose, always a pleasure. Great to see you, my friend. And again, much love to everyone. Make it a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next Saturday on Doppler's Gear Garage. Until then, thanks so much, and appreciate the feedback on 15-Minute Fundamentals. Chris, love you, bro. See you a little later.